mute every participants.
Okay.
Madam, ready, madam?
Ready, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Got it.
A very good afternoon to one and all gathered here. It's my immense pleasure to welcome the gathering of PhD YOC examination of Mr. M. Prasanna, full-time PhD scholar under the my guidance. So in this fine occasion, first of all, I would like to welcome our most respected external examiner, Professor K. Murali Rajan sir. So in this fine occasion, on behalf of the Department of Physical Education and my own behalf, we wholeheartedly welcome you, sir. So in this juncture, it is my duty to introduce about a few words about our external examiner. He is an eminent professor. He has more than 25 years service in the field of physical education and sports. Presently, he is working as a professor in Alappa University College of Physical Education, Alappa University, Karakkudi, and also he is a specialization in hockey. So he produced many number of national players in hockey, and also he won the many championship. In the research publication, he produced more than 10 scholars, 80 MPhil scholars, and more than 100 PG students in the area of physical education and yoga. And also he published in many journals in the peer-reviewed UGC journals. The sir remarks is remarkable. He has a lot of achievements in the field of physical education. So in his busy schedule, he accepted our invitation and come over here as an external examiner. In this fine occasion, on behalf of the Department of Physical Education, on behalf of the university authorities, and my own behalf, we wholeheartedly welcome you, sir. I do welcome the doctoral committee members, Dr. P. Kumaravel sir, and Dr. R. Venkatesan sir, Associate Professor, Department of Exercise Physiology and Nutrition. In this fine occasion, I welcome you, sir. I do welcome the faculty members from the Department of Physical Education, Dr. Tirumala Kumar sir, Professor, Dr. I. Lilipushpan madam, Dr. Kumaravel sir, Dr. Rajesh sir, Dr. Jayakumar sir, Dr. Velkumar sir, Dr. Lakshman sir, Dr. Jayachandran, Dr. Koila madam. I do welcome the faculty members from the various department and affiliated colleges of Tamil Nadu Physical Education and Sports University. I do welcome the faculty members from the various institutions, professional colleagues, MPhil PhD scholars, and my dear students. Once again, I welcome you all in this fine occasion. Now I hand over the session to our external examiner for further proceedings. Please, sir, over to you, sir.
Good morning, Professor. Thank you for giving an elaborate biodata of mine. Really, I'm very much thankful to the University Authority for giving me this opportunity to be the external for Mr. Prasanna. And first of all, I take this opportunity to thank Vice Chancellor, Registrar, and the guide for giving me this opportunity to be the external for the Prasanna. Now, it's as a protocol, I call upon the scholar to present his thesis, Mr. Prasanna. His thesis is the effect of high intensity game specific training with and without balanced diet on selected physiological and skill performance variables among football players. Now I request Mr. Prasanna to present his thesis. Prasanna, please.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon, one and all present here. Myself.
Screen share பண்ணிக்கப்பா. Slide share பண்ணிட்டு பண்ணு.
Yes. Welcome you all. PhD Viva voice. Good afternoon, one and all present here. Myself, M. Prasanna, full-time PhD research scholar, Department of Physical Education. I welcome my Dr. Murali Rajan sir, external examiner, Professor, Alagappa University College of Physical Education, Karakkudi. I welcome Dr. S. Manikandan sir, guide and supervisor, Professor and Head Physical Education. I welcome my all staff members, my PhD Viva voice presentation. My research topic, the effect of high-intensity game-specific training with and without balanced diet on selected physiological and skill performance variable among football players. Introduction. The sports technology has so advanced into the sports arena for engaged performance. The science and technology wonders and its application in the field of sports can be miraculous. To bring the success, scientific methods are the every centimeters of every fractions of seconds and every ounce of engage of athletics who is considered to the mission. There are number of important performance of frequency of good performance in a sports. Some of the factors of aerobic capacities and ability to use anaerobic reserve, mobility, ability, balance, speed, strength, power, endurance, skill, statistics, intelligence, coordination, good eyesight of versions, reaction times and abilities, motivation, concentration, dedication, rest, food, sleep, coaching facilities, specific physical preparation and countless of physiological and psychological factors. Nutrition in sports. Nutrition in sports. The nutrition science 6 examples, metabolics and physiological response of the body to diet with advanced molecular biology, biochemistry and genetics, nutrition science additionally develop into the study of individuals' metabolism, which is the seeks to connected to direct and health through the lens of the biochemical process. The contributions of nutrition can make a general health of any individual which has been generally accepted as be not be given the attention of desiring, as saying a sound mind the sound of body. It is needless to say one can never think act promotely if that person in health of the good nutrition is therefore ritual optimal even performance. The physical activities in the normally develop in early adolescence. Importance of proper nutrition for football player. Sports nutrition represent the application nutritional principle to sports, which engage the performance of sportsmen. The optimal nutrition can reduce the fatigue, allowing an athlete to train the competitor longer of recover faster between training sections and also a reducing of the disease and injury. It helps to achieve the maintenance health. The optimum of nutrition or compulsions of explosive calories could result to obesities, but the nutrients of intake necessary to maintain the maximum physical condition for athletics on other performance. Diet during physical training. Nutrition in the important features of any training program. Education of coach and athlete is needed in regard to the both nutritional needs to role of different food in diet. The study of Australian Olympic athletes showed be the variability in their diet and in their nutrition knowledge. Intakes of some nutrients were much higher than record the particular protein, calcium and vitamin C and all those they are usual to harmless. The diet could be economical. During training there is an increased need and protein in the order of 3 grams per kilogram of body weight. Skill performance of football players. The football is one of the most popular in sports input with massive global base of enthusiasts and traditions of all age. Today, the football performance must be complete of athletes. They have the quick of the mark and over 10 to 20 yards. They need excellent level of both aerobics and anaerobics endurance to last the duration. The upper body strength record to shielding the ball or holding of opponents through in the also contributes of overall power and explosiveness. The lower body strength and records for the kicking, jumping, twisting, turning, and also forms of foundation for explosive speed. Statement of problem. The purpose of the study was to investigate the effect of high intensity game specific training with and without balanced diet on selected physiological and skill performance variable among football players. Objective of study. Whether the high intensity game specific training with balanced diet bringing any improvement on selected physiological and skill performance variable among football players. Whether the high intensity game specific training without balanced diet bringing any improvement on selected physiological and performance variable among football players. Where there is significant difference between high intensity game specific training without balanced diet group in altering selected physiological and skill performance variables among football players. Significance of study. The study could help to compare the change with occurred the change selected physiological and skill performance variables among football players after the experimentation. The study could help to understand the pro-oxides of status of physical active men. The study may be the advantage to the physical. Educators, coach, athletes, and medical participants of understands the effect of game-specific training, balanced diet in improve the selected physiological and skill performance variables among football players. The finding of the study who could added to body acknowledged in the areas of training method of physiological and sports nutrition. Hypothesis. There could significant change selected physiological and skill performance variables of football players due to the effect of high intensity game specific training with balanced diet. There could significant change on choose physiological and skill performance variables of football players as a result higher intensity game specific training without balanced diet. There could be significant difference between an high intensity game specific training with and without balanced diet, altering the selecting physiological and skill performance variable among football players. Delimitation. The study delimited 16 football players from various college affiliates of University of Madras. The football players who represent inter-college level competition were only considered. The number of the group for the study was delimited the three and designing high intensity game specific training with balanced diet group, high intensity game specific without balanced diet group, the control group. The number of subjects in each group was confined of 20. The durations of experimental period was restricted to 16 weeks and frequency of 3 days per week. Same type of football specific protocol was given to both the experimental groups. The subject of the experimental group 1 was recommended to take the diets designing them expert dietness during the 16 weeks treatment period. The age of the subject ranged from 18 to 24 years. All the subjects were healthy and normally. Dependent variable selected for the study is confidence of only selected physiological and skill performance variable. Limitation. The heritage of characters of the subject, heritage of the environmental factors were recognized of the limitation. The outcomes of the physical extents of lifestyle, physiological stress and other factors and the metabolic functions were not assessed separately. The growth and development of the subject, if any, during the period of experimentations of possible influence of criterions of variables could not be controlled. The uncontrollable changes in the climate conditions such as atmosphere, temperature, humidity, and the meteorological, the factors of during the pre-test and post-test are regarded as the limitation. Methodology. 16 inter-college men football players as ranged as 18 to 24 years. Experimental 1. High intensity game specific training with balanced diet. Experimental 2. High intensity game specific training without balanced diet. Control group. Variables. Independent. High intensity game specific training with balanced diet. High intensity game specific without balanced diet. Dependent. Physiological variables: cardiovascular endurance, VO2 max, resting pulse rate, systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure. Performance variable: dribbling, passing, shooting, kicking. I'm taking a post-hoc test. The statistics technique, Anokova post-hoc test. The result and discussion, summary, conclusion, recommendation. Selections of variable: physiological variable, cardiovascular endurance, VO2 max, resting pulse rate, systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure. The skill performance variables: dribbling, passing, shooting, kicking. Test. Selection of test variables: physiological variables, cardiovascular endurance, Cooper test, meters, VO2 max, adverse step test, liters and minutes, resting pulse rate, digital blood pressure monitor, beats and minutes, systolic blood pressure, digital monitor, pressure monitor, mmg, diastolic blood pressure, digital blood pressure monitor, mmg. Skill performance variable: dribbling, barrow, tristellars. The passing same test will be using, shooting as a barrow, max of the tristellar, kicking MC, Donald soccer test with meter. Experimental design and statistical techniques. The experimental design used in study was random group design involving 16 subjects were divided into random into a 3 equal group of 20 subjects each. All the 3 groups were selected from the experimental population. Experimental 1 with diet, experimental 2 without diet, control group. Statistics techniques. In order to null the internal difference, data collection from the 3 group prior and post experimentations on selected dependent variables or statistics analyze, find out the significant difference, if any, by applying the analyzing of covariance. Uncover the pretest means of selected dependent variables was to covariant. Since the group were involved where their obedient of F ratio was found to be significant from adjusted post-test means sufficient test was applied to the post-hoc test is determining the paired means difference in, if any. In all the cases, level of confidence was fixed at 0.05 level of significance. Training schedule. Experiment period 16 weeks. Timing 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. During of each section 19 minutes. Number of the section 3 days per week. Days Monday, Wednesday and Friday. The section morning section. The rest of interval between 1:1 ratios. The rest of the interval between set 1:3 ratio. Warm up 15 minutes. Warm down 15 minutes. The training schedule for high intensity game specific training with balanced diet. I am giving to the name of the skill: inside foot kick, inside foot kick, close control tabling, speed control tabling, jump heading, dive heading, soul type, tight trap, chest trap, blocking tackle, poke tackle, side tackle. I am giving for the 1 to 4 weeks of set will be giving for 4, repetition 10, recovery between sets and 1:3, exercise are 1:1. 5 to 8 weeks of the set will be 4, repetition will be 8, recovery between the set 1:3, exercise are 4. I have intensity for the 85 to 90% set, repetition set giving for the 4, repetition for the 6, recovery between 1:3, exercise 1:1. Intensity 90 to 95, the set 4, repetition 5, recovery between 1:3, exercise 1:1. Balanced diet chart. They are giving for the balanced diet chart a warm jeera water, breakfast, mid-morning, lunch, evening, dinner, bedtime. You are giving to the balanced diet of the training schedule. Training schedule for high intensity game specific training without balanced diet. The name of the skill, the same drill will be giving for the with diet and without diet. They are 1 to 4 weeks, intensity 75 to 80%. The set will be 4, repetition will be 10, recovery between set is 1:3, exercise is 1:1. 5 to 8 week, intensity 80 to 85%. The set will be giving the 4, repetition doing the 8, recovery between set 1:3, exercise is 1:1. 9 to 12, intensity 85%, 90%. The set will be giving for 4, repetition will be doing for 6, recovery between the set is 1:3. The exercise will be the 1:1. 13 to 16 weeks, intensity is 90 to 95%. The set will be giving for 4, the repetition doing for the 5, the recovery between the 1:3, exercise will be 1:1. The computer of analyzing covariance of the pre-test and post-test and adjusted post-test on cardiovascular endurance for the experimental group and control group score in meters. The pre-test obtained a value of 0.25. As a result, it was lower than the table value 3.16. It confirmed there was not significant change among the pre-test means football player. The post-test is obtained value of 17.13. As a result, it was higher than the table value. Adjusted post-test means the obtained F value was for 49.70 as higher than the table value. It confirmed there was significant change among the football players. The sufficient post-hoc test is approved due to the effect of with diet and without diet is cardiovascular or say college level football players, inter-college football players, the significant were improved. The computer of analyzing of covariance, pre-test and post-test and adjusted post-test Viva to max for experimental group and control group. The pre-test F ratios was 0.05. The post-test is obtained was 20.45 F ratios. As a result, is higher than the table value of 3.16. The adjusted post-test was obtained value was 96.95 is as the table value of the 3.16 is confirmed as there was significant changes among the adjusted post-test intercollege level football players. Sufficient confidence interval test score VO2 max score in liters. The sufficient post-hoc test is proved that due to the experimental 1-2 and the experimental 1-2, the variables using the VO2 max is confidence interval levels of 0.69. The significance of 0.5 level of the confidence. The bar diagram showing the pre-test and post-test adjusted post-test means for VO2 max. Compute of analyzing covariance pre-test, post-test, and adjusted post-test on resting pulse rate of experimental group and control group. Score in beats per minutes. Pre-test obtained F value was 0.48 is lower than the table value of 3.16. It confirmed there was a significant change among the pre-test means of the intercollege level football players. The post-test obtained value of 13.44. As a result, it was greater than the table value of 3.16. It was confirmed there was significant change among the post-test means of intercollege level football players. Adjusted post-test is obtained F value was 24.89 as higher than the table value of the 3.16. It confirmed there was significant change among the adjusted post-test means intercollege level football players. Sufficient confidence interval test scoring of resting pulse rate scoring between the sufficient post-hoc test proved that during the experimental 1 to experimental group 1, the variables I'm using to the resting pulse rates is confidence interval level of 1.1. The significance of 0.0 level of the confidence. Bar diagram showing the pre-test and post-test and adjusted post-test means of resting pulse rate. The compute of analyzing covariance of pre-test and post-test adjusted post-test is systolic blood pressures for the experimental group 1 control group. The pre-test is obtained F value was the 0.11 is a F lower than the table value. The pre-test is obtained F value was the 1.48 is as a result it was lesser than the table value. The adjusted post-test is obtained F value was 2.53 is a 2.53 as a lesser than the table value of 3.16. The bar diagram showing pre-test, post-test, and adjusted post-test means systolic blood pressure. The compute of analyzing covariance pre-test and the post-test, adjusted post-test, and the diastolic blood pressures for the experimental group and control group, scoring in mmg. The pre-test obtained the F value was 0.43. As a result, it was lower than the table value. The post obtained F value was 2.57, lower than the table value. The adjusted post-test means obtained F values 2.72 as a lower than the table value of 3.16. Bar diagram show pre-test and post-test and adjusted post-test means and diastolic blood pressure. The compute of analyzing of covariance pre-test and post-test and adjusted post-test tripling for the experimental group and control groups score in second. It pre-test obtained F value was 0.60. The post-test obtained F value was 61.10. Is great as a result is higher than the table value of the 3.16. The adjusted test means obtained F value was 120.54 as F value was there as higher than the table value. Sufficient confidence interval test got tripling scoring in there. Mid value of 1.03. The confidence interval training is 0.46. The significance of 0.05 level of confidence. The bar diagram show pre-test and post-test and adjusted post-test means on tripling. The compute of analyzing covariance of pre-test, post-test, and adjusted post-test passing for experimental group and control group. The pre-test F ratio was 1.27. The post-test F ratio was 51.99. The adjusted test F ratio was 132.53. The significance 0.11 confidence. The table were record to the significance of 0. levels of confidence 2 and 57 and 2 and 56, where 3.16 is representatively. Sufficient confidence interval test score passing score in meters. The sufficient post hoc test proved that due to the mid value of 0.75, the confidence interval trainings of the significance of 0.11 levels of confidence. The bar diagram showing the pre-test, post-test, and adjusted post-test means passing. The computer of analyzing covariance of pre-test and post-test and adjusted post-test shooting experimental group and control group. The pre-test F ratios of 0.04. The post-test F ratios was 19.76. The adjusted means the F ratio was 60.48. The significant 0.11 confident, the table values record significance of 0.5 levels of confidence with 257 and 256 were 3.16 representatively. The Shaffiq's confident interval test score shooting score in point. The sufficient post hoc test proved that due to the mid value of the 5.7, the class intervals of the 4.01, the significance of the 0 point level of confidence. The bar diagram showing the pre-test and post-test and adjusted post-test means of shooting. Computer of analyzing covariance and pre-test and post-test adjusted post-test kicking for experimental group and control group score in meters. Pre-test F value of 1.226, post-test F value was 16.67, adjusted post-test the 13.0.07. The significance of 0.05 level of confidence. The table values record to the significance of 0.05 level confidence with degree of freedom 257 and 256 were 3.16 representatively. Suffix confidence interval text score kicking score in meters. Experimental 1 with diet, experimental 2 without diet. Mid value of 6.16, the confidence levels of 2.20, the significance at the 0 point levels of confidence. The bar diagram showing the pre-test, post-test, adjusted post-test mean kicking. Discussions of hypothesis. It begins to study of hypothesis has been formulated. Example, the purpose of the result. It could be the formula of hypothesis first started. There could be a significant change on selected physiological and skill performance variable football players due to the high intensity game specific training with balanced diet. The result of the study have proved that high intensity game specific training with balanced diet without diet has the produce significant improvement on cardiovascular endurance, VO2 max, resting pulse rate, dribbling, passing, shooting, kicking among football players. Since the formulate hypothesis first was accepted for above variables. The formulate hypothesis is seconded that could be a significant change on chosen physiological and skill performance variable of football players and result of high intensity game specific training without balanced diet. The result of the study proved the high intensity game specific training without balanced diet have produced significant improvement on cardiovascular endurance, VO2 max, resting pulse rate, dribbling, passing, shooting, kicking among football players. Since the formulate hypothesis second was accepted from above variables, the formulate of hypothesis third stated that could be the significant difference between high intensity game specific training without balanced diet group. In alternating the selected physiological and skill performance variable among football players, the result of the study proved there were significant difference found between high intensity game specific training with balanced diet and high intensity game specific training without balanced diet on cardiovascular endurance, VO2 max, resting pulse rate, dribbling, passing. The hence hypothesis third was accepted for the above the variables. Conclusion. It was concluded the experimental group, namely high intensity game specific training with balanced diet. The high intensity game specific training without balanced diet have produced the significant improvement on selected physiological variables, namely cardiovascular endurance, VO2 max, resting pulse rate when compared to the control group. It was concluded the experimental group, namely high intensity game specific training with balanced diet and high intensity game specific training without balanced diet have produced significant improvement on selected skill performance variable, namely dribbling, passing, shooting, and kicking when compared to the control group. It was concludes the experimental group, namely high intensity game specific training with balanced diet, high intensity game specific without balanced diet has proved the significant improvement on selected skill performance variables, dribbling, passing, shooting, kicking when compared to the control group. It was concludes the experimental group, namely high intensity game specific training with balanced diet and higher than game specific training without balanced diet have proved the significant improvement on selected skill performance variable, namely dribbling, passing, shooting, and kicking when compared to the control group. It was conclude the experimental group, namely intensity game specific training with balanced diet and high intensity game specific training without balanced diet have not produced significant improvement on selected with balanced diet. Have produced significant improvement selected physiological variables, namely systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure, and football players. Conclusion. It was concluded the significance difference the improvement due to the experimental group, namely high intensity game specific training with balanced diet and higher than the specific training without balanced diet. Selected physiological variables among cardiovascular endocrine, Viva to max resting pulse rate among football players. It was concluded the significant difference improvement to the experimental group and namely high intensity game specific training and high intensity game specific training without balanced diet and selected skill performance variable, namely dribbling, passing, shooting, kicking, and football players. Conclusion. It was concluded by high intensity game specific training, balanced diet with the diet better than they without diet on selected physiological variables, cardiovascular endurance, Viva to max resting pulse rate among the football players. It was concluded high intensity game specific training with balanced diet better than the high intensity game specific training without balanced diet on the selected performance variable, namely dribbling, passing, shooting, kicking among football players. Recommendation. The find of the study was proved the high intensity game specific training with balanced diet, high intensity specific training without balanced diet, significant contributions of improving the selected physiological and skill performance variable among football players. In light of the above finding of recommended to update made the efforts made to taken the coaches, sports scientists of the educations of authorized of including the suggestions of small sites of football training and schedule for the football players. It highlight of the finding of the study of high intensity game specific training balanced diet and without balanced diet training programs were proved if the football players are before the competitions are better than preparation. The fitness trainers, physical directors of implement of the trainings of protocols of the suggested the study of maybe the for the benefits of study of the healthful living. The high intensity game specific trainings without balanced diet program protocol suggested in the study of the included the curriculums of the school study of the improve the overall the fitness of physiological and skill performance variable. The research proved the high intensity game specific training with and without balanced diet is applied to the test on the football players, so we can improve the performance levels of the players. Suggest for the future research. During the course of the study was indicators comes across the number of the new ideas, some which few important ones is listed futures of the researchers. The similar study can be contains of selected anthropometric meters and other physical and physiological performance factors as predictions of the variables. The similar research may be conduct of the different levels of football players, find out the effect of the small size of football games. Since of the study was covered to area children's only, the similar research can be undertaken among the areas children. The similarly research could be the done of the additional physical and physiological and psychological performance variables. The similarly method of the implements of other ages of the category of same variables. Thank you.
Professor?
Thank you, Professor. First of all, let me thank the scholar who is
Marks.
having good. Sir, it is audible.
Yes, Professor. Yes, Professor.
Yes, yes. All right. First of all, I thank the scholar for a very good presentation without any mistake. He is having mastery over his language. He was too fast then too. He never skipped even a word. That he is having control over his language. Really, I thank the scholar for a good presentation. And now let me ask some one or two questions which is being asked by the external, all the three externals. Scholar, are you ready?
Yeah, sir. I'm ready.
Please take one glass of water so that you will be relieved.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
First question is, I think you are a football player or hockey player?
Yeah, I am a football player, sir.
Right, okay. I think you will be, because being a football player, you have selected. But any special reason behind to select this topic? You have any special reason?
Yes, sir. First of all, I am a football player. There are a number of previous studies conducted to the assess the football players, the specific conditioning between the limited study only, sir. I conducting of investigated the effect of the specific training with the diet effect is among football players. Reason of the selecting topic, sir. The with the diet is limited only is taking for the football players, sir. That's why I'm taking for the diet, sir.
What is the contribution of your study?
Yes, my studies show in importance of the diet only, sir, for high intensity game specific training, physical development and stamina of development, sir.
Thank you. And one more question. What are the problems you have faced during the collection of data? Because you have taken around about 60 subjects.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
60 subject of Madras University players, and you would have faced a lot of problems for getting the subject to your study. What are the problems you have faced?
I am facing some little bit problem only, sir, for data during the training and testing period, sir. However, while giving the balanced diet, I have faced some problem only. But day by day, I will to cooperate the subject and improve my tests, sir. So that is not so much of any problem, sir. I am mingled the subject variables or subject people, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Prasanna. Now I will request the audience also keenly watching your presentation and hearing your presentation to clarify the doubts regarding the topic which Prasanna has taken. The topic of Prasanna is effect of high intensity game specific training with and without balanced diet on selected physiological and skill performance variables among football players. Audience, open to audience. Sir Manikandan, sir, the question is to the audience.
The participants can unmute yourself and raise your questions. Jayachan, sir, is there any clarification, sir? Please unmute yourself and ask your question, sir. Please, sir. Mama, கொஞ்சம் unmute பண்ணி விடுங்க.
Thank you, Professor, for. Thank you. Professor has unmuted. Thank you, Professor.
Jayachan, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, let us wind up.
Say a few words about your research work, sir.
Audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
First of all, I congratulate Prasanna. Very well presentation. Conclusion of the result, but better than the result.
Prasanna, which group better இருக்குன்னு சார் கேக்குறாங்க.
With diet group only better than the study, sir.
Oh.
What
Okay,
are the
thank you, thank
variables?
you.
என்னென்ன variablesல better இருக்காங்க?
I'm variables of three variables are better than the with diet group, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Prasanna.
Professor, now you can conclude the session, Professor. Summarize the session.
Thank you, Professor. First of all, let me appreciate the scholar for beautiful performance, beautiful presentation. Really, he is having mastery over his language. I like a person presenting in a proper manner, really, and taking the topic effect of high intensity game specific training with and without balanced diet, selected physical and skill performance variables among football players. In the chapter 1, the scholar has presented well and narrative. His objective of study, scope, definition were presented in a prescribed manner. The definition of keys and the significance of study were clearly explained. In the chapter 2, he has collected reviews related to the topic and which supports his study. He has collected latest reviews regarding the study. And in the third chapter, the scholar has presented the methodology of the study, appropriately the selection of samples, tools and sources, data collection were mentioned clearly. The methodology adopted is suitable as per the objective of study. The scholar has presented the collected data and finding in a systematic manner. The finding have been well presented with the tables and appropriate graphic representation. The discussion of finding has been done in a proper manner and the explanation of the finding obtained. Only I will just say to the scholar, after decimal, we have to say 3.16. He combined and told 3.16, 3.16, 3.18. The scholar kindly note the after decimal, you should say number individually, not combined. Right. In the 5th chapter, the finally summarized, find conclusion, recommendation in a clear manner. Overall, the presented very well, neat and good quality of language, and I thank the guide and scholar for selecting a good topic and presenting in a proper manner. And in this gesture, I recommend to the university, the syndicate member, the university authority for the award of Ph.D. And after the award of Ph.D., he may be called as Dr. Prasanna. And in this gesture, I take this opportunity to thank the Vice Chancellor, Registrar, the guide, Dr. Manikandan, Controller of Examination, and all the faculty members of Tamil Nadu Sports University and the faculty members of Department of Physical Education, those who are present here for Viva, and also thank Manikandan and the scholar and Jay Chandran sir also. Thank you one and all present here. And thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Professor. So really wonderful words for my scholar and myself. So in this
really,
final
beautiful I like beautiful presentation. That's all. Very good presentation. Even though he was fast, he was very fast, but then too he was a good presenter. Really, I like it.
Thank you for your blessing, Professor.
Thank you.
Now the scholar can propose word of thanks, please. Unmute பண்ணிக்கோ. பிரசன்னா unmute பண்ணி, மூர்த்தி unmute பண்ணிக்கோ. உமா மேடம் கொஞ்சம் unmute பண்ணி விடுங்க.
I sincerely thank my Vice Chancellor, Dr. M. Sundar sir. I sincerely thank my Registrar sir, Dr. V. Gopinath sir. I sincerely thank my guide and controller of examination, Dr. S. Manikandan sir. I sincerely thank my subject expert, Dr. Venkateshan sir, Dr. Kumaravelu sir. I sincerely thank my Department of Physical Education staff members, Dr. Tirumali Kumar sir, Professor, Dr. Lily Pushpam ma'am, Associate Professor, Dr. Rajesh Kumar sir, Assistant Professor, Dr. Jay Kumar sir, Assistant Professor, Dr. Vel Kumar sir, Assistant Professor, and Lakshman sir, Assistant Professor. The guest lecturer, Dr. Jay Chandran sir, Dr. Kokila ma'am. I express my thanks, MCC staff members, Department of Physical Education, Dr. James Zakaria sir, Dr. Prabhu sir, Mr. Robin Amul, Mr. Michael sir, Dr. Shobana ma'am. I sincerely thank to Dr. Basha sir, Physical Director in College, Dr. Sagit, Physical Assistant Professor in Calcutta. The sincere thank to Research Scholar, Department of Physical Education, and I sincerely thank my father, my mother, my brother, my sister, and my wife. So helping my PhD and helping my friends, my relatives, so many helping in my life. The sincerely thank to the special thank to my Basha sir and Shagit sir. The most research, I sincerely thank the scholars, Dr. Murthy sir, Mr. Sadish Kumar, Mr. Appu, Mr. Manoj, Mr. Dina, Mr. Arigaran, Mr. Dayanidhi is also most welcome for helping to the PhD Viva awards. I am so thankful to online section coming for this the Viva was the examination to so welcome, and I will thank Department of the Physical Education and one and all present here. I am most thankful to them. Thank you, sir.
All the best, scholar Prasanna.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you. Very kind of you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor.
Thanks a lot,
Professor,
Professor.
நான் leave பண்ணிக்கிட்டீங்களா?
Yes, Professor. Yes,
Shall I
Professor.
leave?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I thank all the faculty members and to students, those who attended this PhD OOC examination. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Prasanna.
Uma
Yeah,
madam.
sir. Yeah, thank you,
Uma
sir.
madam, wind up பண்ணுங்க madam.
Sir, கேக்குதா?
கேக்குதுப்பா. Dr. Murthy, Dr. Prasanna.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Satyasilan.